And speaking of kids, while conservatives are giving them a start in life, liberals are giving them the chance to be crime victims before they even reach adulthood. On Wednesday afternoon, an 11-year-old little girl and her 12-year-old brother were living out a very simple part of childhood, operating a summer lemonade stand in Boston, when they got a very brutal lesson in the urban lawlessness that results from liberals signaling tolerance of crime with their soft policies, as it grows more and more unchecked. When a pair of juvenile suspects robbed the young siblings at gunpoint. It wasn't even 5 o'clock when the armed children first appeared, casing the lemonade stand with multiple walk-bys before finally approaching the kids and asking whether they accepted Apple Pay. But before the future productive members of our society could even answer them, one of the future members of our prison population snatched their cash box away from them, while the other future inmate made sure that there was no resistance to their crime by lifting up his shirt to flash the black gun that he had tucked into his waistband as a kid. The two armed thieves then fled on foot, taking the cash that the other children had earned with them. The kids' cash box was later found nearby after being emptied of the approximately $50 that these siblings had earned with their own hard work. The children's father, Dave Byrne, described what happened to his kids, saying, "One of them said, 'We don't have any money, but we're going to see if my mother will Venmo me the money so I can pay for it.' Next thing you know, they came back and said, 'We're just going to take this,' and they took my sons and daughters, their money, bank that they had all their cash in. And as they did that, they flashed a gun that they had in their waistband." The kid's mother, Jennifer, said, "They called me. I'm at work. They're hysterical, saying someone just came with a gun and took all our money." Mr. Byrne added, "My kids immediately just put their hands up and said, 'Take whatever you want.' So I'm proud of my kids for that, and I'm proud of them for basically protecting each other, but also being smart in that bad situation. That pride, however, did not mean that there was not also fury, too. As he pointed out, this is appalling. This is grotesque. This is something that should not happen to young kids. Can't have a gun and can't be robbing lemonade stands. It's as easy as that." His wife, Jennifer, pointed out why this isn't right, to allow things to get to be this way in a world that our kids have to live in, saying, "The youngest one, my daughter, she was saying she's scared to walk home from the bus stop, which is only 2 blocks away." Yeah, kids get scared of the world. That's why it is the responsibility of adults to keep it safe, so that you don't traumatize kids. Soft on crime policies are not compassionate. They actually victimize the most vulnerable members of our society for the sake of the worst members of our society who are making decisions with their own free will to brutalize innocent people. That is the reality here. You may not like it, but that's the reality here. Boston police did release surveillance footage of both juvenile suspects on Thursday, and District C6 detectives are actively investigating this crime. And make no mistake, it is a crime. No arrests have been made yet. And I will just say, you are lucky that I am not your mama. No, actually that is not true, because if I was your mama, you would not have even done this. You would have been raised right. But if I was your mother, first, I would have made sure that you did not have access to a gun as a child. Second, I would make sure that you would not be able to sit down for the next week. And then I would call the cops on you myself, because learning now is the only hope of keeping you from facing even more serious consequences later on due to escalating behavior, which is what happens when you do not address it with the equal seriousness that armed robbery merits. So yes, ma'am, call the cops on your own kids if you actually love them. Otherwise, you can be Carmelo Anthony's mother one day, sitting in court begging a jury to have mercy on them, and they aren't gonna. However, this story does have one minor redemptive note in it, and that is the rallying of the community. The city councilor, Ed Flynn, announced that the kids' lemonade stand would reopen Friday evening, while noting South Boston neighbors are helping these kids reopen their lemonade stand. Let's show them how much love and support the Southie community has for them. It is also our understanding that 50% of proceeds will be donated to a local organization working to prevent gun violence. Anyone with information on this crime should contact detectives to get these kids off the road to lifelong criminality before a victim gets hurt. You can report anything you know at 617-343-4742. Doing so is the only compassionate thing, both for these juvenile criminals and for their victims.